Count Basie. Lionel Hampton. Herbie Hancock. Max Roach. Stan Getz. Jerry Mulligan. And Dizzy Gillespie in the original Rompin', Stompin', Hot and Heavy, Cool and Groovy, All-Star Jazz Show. With an excursion through the sights and sounds of jazz, past and present, from gospel and ragtime to bebop and jazz rock, with the George Faison dancers and featuring Joe Williams.
Now the sound of jazz dancing in my head, the sound of jazz dancing in my head. Where did it come from? Where's it going? Where did it come from? It's been here so long. Ooh.
And starring as your hostess, Dionne Warwick.
African sounds all around, from Timbuktu to New Orleans, Kansas City, Mississippi.
Jazz is Hawkins, Prez, Bird, Mingus, Bud, and Bags.
Right on, Miles, Monk, Moody, and Eddie Jefferson. There I go, there I go, there I go.
Diggin', swingin' bop.
Bessie, Billy, Ella, Nina.
Betty Carter,
Right.
Clifford Brown, and Train.
You'll see Diz, Basie, Yeager, Getz.
And Hamp and Mulligan, Max and Hancock.
Right on.
Now the sounds of jazz.
Jazz dancing in my head. Ooh, makes you feel so good.
I'm in ecstasy. Me and my baby, shooby-dooby, shooby-dooby, shooby-doo-wop.
The All-Star Jazz Show.
It's the All-Star Jazz Show. Here again, Dionne Warwick.
If you've ever heard Charlie Parker's saxophone or Louis Armstrong's trumpet, if you've heard Billie Holiday or Ella Fitzgerald sing, you know that jazz covers a lot of territory. It all started with the work song, more than 100 years ago, when black people had to find a way to express their feelings. That's a work song you're listening to now.
Hammering, 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 to steal my daddy from his African home. Now we ain't got no place to roam. Hammering, 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 to steal everything except in my soul. Got to hammer my way right out of this hole. Hammering, the hammering, the hammering, hammering, the hammering, the hammering, the hammering.
But there were other feelings to be expressed too. Feelings of hope, of sharing, and the promise of a better life. That's where gospel and spiritual music came from. Oh Lord, oh Lord, my weary bones are so tired. Oh Lord, oh Lord, I The good news of gospel and the blues of work songs were going somewhere. And when the good news part and the blues part got together around the turn of the century, the result was a happy, swinging new kind of music called ragtime. That's Scott Joplin's Maple Leaf Rag, and that's Roland Hanna playing it. It didn't take long for people to realize that ragtime rhythms were pretty good for dancing, too. They worked out all kinds of new steps. The turkey trot, the bunny hug, and even the cakewalk.
We'll be right back with the Rompin' Stompin' All-Star Jazz Show.
Jazz moved up and down the Mississippi, and wherever it stopped, something happened. Back around 1920, for the first time, the trumpet, the trombone, and the clarinet began to play jazz together. They played in joints and roadhouses and speakeasies, and the musicians made up jazz as they went along. Remember that word, improvisation? Making up music. Inventing a new and different sound. That was Differmouth Blues, written by Joe King Oliver when he had a second trumpeter in his band named Louis Pops Armstrong. Funny thing about those names, Kings, Earls. Bessie Smith was known as Empress of the Blues. Dinah Washington was known as the Queen of the Blues. Billie Holiday was called Lady Day. Jazz created a royalty all of its own. But you had to earn those titles. You weren't born into them. Would you believe we even had a president? That's right. We simply called him Prez. It was Lester Young. But the Duke of Dukes was the Duke of Ellington, Edward Kennedy Ellington. Food Indigo. Duke was the first real composer of jazz, and he made it a universal language. He always said, "I love you madly" to the audience, and his music proved it.
Always get that mood indigo since my baby said goodbye. In the evening when the lights are low, I'm so lonesome I could cry, 'cause there's nobody who cares about me. I'm just a soul who's bluer than blue can be. And I get that mood indigo. I could lay me down and die. You ain't been blue. No, no, no. You ain't been blue till you had that mood indigo. That feeling goes stealing down to my shoes while I sit and sigh. One long blue.
By the late 30s, a brand new style of jazz came along called swing. At least that's what your grandparents called it. It took a little from the big band music of Duke Ellington and Fletcher Henderson, added some of Louis Armstrong's trumpet licks, and wound up as a happy, romping kind of jazz. Whenever there wasn't a real live band around, all you had to do was turn on your radio and hear Lionel Hampton play Stompin' at the Savoy. be right back. There was a romp and a stomp inside a swing. But there was another kind of swing that was a little more groovy. It came out of Kansas City and added the long, lean lines of the blues to the rhythm of swing. And nobody but nobody was better at keeping the rhythm in a groovy, driving mood than Mr. Bill Basie. Bill Basie? No. We've known him as Count Basie for all these years. And believe me, he's a part of the royalty that I just told you about, and he earned his title.
Packing up my suitcase and moving on down the line. Well, packing up my suitcase and moving on down the line. Well, there ain't nobody worrying and there ain't nobody crying. Every day I have the blues. Make a man say,
That was Joe Williams. You know, hard times in the blues never seemed to really go away. In the 1940s, scuffling to get by was a fact of life for a lot of people. Jobs for jazz musicians were hard to come by, and young guys like Charlie Parker and Bud Powell and Thelonious Monk didn't find much of an audience for their new ideas about jazz. They played hot, and they staged musical battles in which nobody got hurt. Big bands, obviously, were not the places for sounds like this, so they took their music to the smaller New York clubs. And that's where bebop was invented, by guys like Max Roach and Dizzy Gillespie.
You got it, right?
Bebop was hot music, and now the sound of jazz went to cool. Musicians like Miles Davis and Jerry Mulligan and Lee Konitz found a cooler, more melodic kind of expression. It went outdoors to places where jazz was played at its best. Cool jazz is what it's called. The name makes a lot of sense when you hear Jerry Mulligan playing his own composition, Jeru.
the All-Star Jazz Show will continue right after these commercial messages. It's the All-Star Jazz Show. Here again is Dionne Warwick.
We've come a long way from an old scratchy Victrola. Music became more complicated, and so did our lives. In the 60s, jazz found a more abstract way to reflect the outrage of assassinations, war, revolution, and riots. The sounds made by musicians like Ornette Coleman, Cecil Taylor, and John Coltrane reflected the times. Things were heavy. One of the musicians who moved jazz out of cool and into heavy was none other than Stan Getz. We couldn't really dance through the cool and the abstract, through the concert halls and the clubs. But now jazz is caught up with the 70s. And with this new electronic devices, it says dance. And when you hear Herbie Hancock's music, you just want to boogie. Jazz, the great American music from the Delta blues to the New York City bop, from traditional rhythms to the sound of now. And right now, Joe, Dizzy, Count, Max, Lionel, Stan, Herbie, Jerry, Saul, and myself are all gonna put it together for you. Jazz is so renowned. The jazz sound from ragtime to pop makes you feel free, hot, blue, cool, new. Can you hear me? Ka-cha!
Hear you, Dionne. We're talking about a jazz scene. May have missed a few, but the best we tried to show to you. For good feelings, a good woman, but keep that jazz sound dancing in my head.
The All-Star Jazz Show. This portion sponsored by Kenner, makers of long-playing toys.